Mike, firstly, Jack Clarke, what's actually unfolded there? Because you were fairly sanguine at the weekend, last weekend, that it's going to be okay. And now it's the opposite, he's out for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he played 90 minutes at Birmingham and obviously rolled his ankle in the game. And the you know, even when I spoke to Jack himself in the week, as I said, the plan was for him to train later on in the week, but the swelling just didn't come down. But you know, Jack was fairly upbeat, and I think the kind of feedback was a semi-positive one. I wouldn't say it's positive because obviously you haven't got Jack Clarke training, but the plan was obviously to give him the weekend, and I think it came to early in the week, and the rate of progress wasn't what we expected or hoped. So we made a decision for him to go and see a specialist on Wednesday morning to find out what was going on, and obviously the feedback's the feedback, which is look, it's a crushing blow. But at the same time, you know, I've got to control the controllables, and it's something now for the next 6 weeks that won't be in my head or my thoughts. Like I've said 1,000 times, you know, it's not just a blow for I mean, it's a massive blow for us, but Jack Clarke would be a blow for any team in this league. So yeah, look, it's for someone that's coming into the role, you know, a week into the role, it's not the news you want. But at the same time, obviously I processed it yesterday morning when the physio department told me the outcome. And then probably from yesterday afternoon onwards, it was full focus on, right, we haven't got him now, I've got to control what I can control. And let's prepare the team to go to Norwich and come back with 3 points.
And knowing now that he's out for that length of time, you've got to think about his replacements. Have you got it in your mind now? You can focus on, right, it'll be X, and I will concentrate on him coming into the team, and he will stay in that position to get him up to speed. Because I'm doubtless you probably won't say who you've got in mind because you don't want to give anything away to Norwich. But can you plan in that sense? Yeah,
to a degree. I mean, we plan. We plan game to game in terms of our day-to-day focus, obviously, but obviously we try and have future games in our kind of eye line. And look, some weeks, you know, we might play with wingers, some weeks we won't play with wingers. So in terms of a direct replacement for Jack, then no. Like, let's not beat around the bush. There isn't a direct replacement, not just in this football club, but you know, probably in the whole league. You know, for me, he would definitely be in the top 1 or 2 wingers in the league, and you could argue if you were picking the best players in the league, he would be in that argument. So in terms of replacing Jack Clarke for Jack Clarke, that isn't going to happen. But what we have to try and do is come up with maybe a slightly different way of playing. We need to come up with some other ideas to try and get the most out of the other players that we got that can play in those areas of the pitch.
You spoke last week about, and when you were last in charge, about being attack-minded, about wanting to play on the front foot. But losing a player like Jack, who is very much your attacking outlet, are you minded now to think, right, look, this next week, for starters, the 3 games you've got, do you think about being more defensive now and saying, right, look, let's just be difficult to beat, rather than the side that goes all out to attack?
Yeah, it was similar to the question I got asked last time. I think there's got to be a strap line in all the games of what Sunderland are. I don't think we can be passive in any of the games. And I think one of the questions I got asked last week was the Leeds game where I think the question implied that we kind of sat off them, and I think if you watch that game back, we denied them space, but when the ball went into certain areas of the pitch, we were really aggressive, and we were a little bit more on the front foot. So it might be a case of we might have to concede some territory, but in terms of a Sunderland team, we can't be passive, and we won't be passive in terms of how we approach the game. So regardless of Jack Clarke or not Jack Clarke, we've still got to have a running thread of how we want Sunderland to look, and that's something that is going to be my responsibility for the next 12 games to find a solution to that. And I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a real challenge for me. I think it would be a real challenge for the most experienced coach that could sit here, and when you take someone of his quality out of your armoury, you could have the most experienced coach in the world sat here, and it would be a challenge. But that's something that I'm kind of I'm looking forward to over the next period, and it's something that I won't leave any stone unturned to find a solution, so to make sure that we go into every single game with the mindset that we're going to win the game.
And looking back to last weekend, the three at the back, which didn't work, are you minded that might work again in the future? Because one key component, if you like, of the back three was not having Dan Ballard.
Yeah.
But if Dan's back in the back 4-3, would you be minded to play three again, or do you just feel that the 4 is your most solid and safe way of moving forward?
No, listen, I'll play a 3 again at some point. I showed last time, and I think I showed on Saturday. I'm not like I said before previously, I'm not at the roulette table. I'm not gambling or risking. It's well thought out, whatever we come up with, and it would be discussed 1,000 times. And I went with the back 3, and the outcome was the outcome. It wasn't a positive outcome. But like I showed last time, that I will make decisions that might be slightly risky to try and get a positive outcome. And like I said previously, if it works, I'm a genius. If it doesn't work, I'm an idiot. And for 45 minutes, I was an idiot. And that's something that I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable sitting in that territory. I'm comfortable sitting in that arena, if that's the right phrase to use. Because I said when I took this role that I'd be authentic to me, and I wouldn't allow anyone to kind of dictate or influence my thought processes, because I do too much preparation, and I spend too much time planning training sessions, watching the opposition, looking at our strengths, looking at the weaknesses. And listen, I'm not gonna delve into what happened on Saturday, because it's in the past, and I want to try and obviously look ahead to the next few games. But there were some things tactically I actually quite liked. We just didn't execute it. And regardless of, and that's not an excuse, by the way, because whatever answer I give to what happened on the first 45, all the roads point back to me anyway, so it doesn't really matter what answer I give you. But yeah, to answer your question, I'll go back to a back 3 if I think it's right for the team.
This next week, I know you're not looking necessarily beyond Norwich, but you've got Norwich, you've got Leicester on Tuesday, and you've got Southampton. 2 of those are away, and I think possibly now, travel is going to be an issue, because there's rail strikes and so on. Is that now something you've got to factor in, the miles that you're going to be doing? Yeah, definitely, and they're all the things that you take into consideration when you're picking a team, when you're picking your shape and your tactics, because we are going to have to utilise the squad over the next 3 games. We're going to need everyone. And it's going to be a tough week, but it's a week that from a personal perspective I'm really looking forward to. I'm coming up against 3 really good coaches that have got not only well coached teams, but they've got really good individuals that can execute the stuff that the coaches want to do. So from a personal perspective, it's going to be a real challenging week. And regardless of what happens, I'll be stronger for it coming out the back end of this week. And we've showed when we've played these 3 teams previously that if we're right at it and we're fully focused, then we can get a positive outcome. So we've shown that when we've played these teams earlier in the season. So there shouldn't be anything to fear. Whether it's naivety or whether it's youth, I'm not going into the games with any fear. I'm respectful of what we're coming up against, because they're three really good teams, so I'm respectful of that side, but I'm not fearing the opposition by any way, shape or imagination. Norwich, the last 2 games, I think it's 8 goals in 2 games. Specifically, though, I think it's Josh Sargent up front, isn't it, who's the real threat. It's sort of 10 goals in 16 games. Yeah, look, they've got good players all over the pitch. We've watched a lot of their games, so they've got a lot of threats. They've got a lot of threats all over the pitch, but we've got to, as I said, we've got to control what we can control. We've got to concentrate on us. They will know that we've got some good players. They obviously played us earlier in the season. We were excellent against them.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the game. I think the group have been excellent this week in training. There's been, regardless of the result, there's been a real vibrancy in terms of the way they've trained. In terms of the tempo and the intensity. So, in terms of me looking from my side of the fence, I see a group of players that are really hungry to get back on the pitch and obviously correct what happened on last Saturday.
And finally from me, injuries. I think we mentioned Jack Clark. Is everyone else where we were last week?
Yeah, Corey's back in full training, but I think we need to treat that with just a level of caution, because he is back in full training, but he has been out for over a year. So it's great to have him back on the training pitch, and just in terms of experience and his know-how. Aji and Daki are not far away. They're part training, so there is some light at the end of the tunnel with some of them. But in terms of this weekend, it'll be a similar type of squad.
Mike, you always come across as a very positive sort of guy, but did you allow yourself 10 minutes to feel a little bit sorry for yourself when the extent of Jack's injury became clear?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I wouldn't say it was 10 minutes, but I did have, when you get that information, you're not going to, you're not skipping down the road with that information. Let's make that clear. But I think the way I was kind of raised and where my mindset is, I can only control what I can control. And I think once you have the initial, right, okay, so he's out for a sustained period of time, I'm not going to have him, my thought process then goes to, right, let's it's almost like double down on what we're doing. Let's really focus on the next few games, and then let's show people, regardless of Jack, and I mean this respectfully, how good we are as a collective. And that's where my focus has been. And I'll be honest with you, after that kind of initial probably 1 or 2 minutes of, puffing my cheeks out a little bit, I haven't really thought about it again, because my focus has been purely on this Saturday.
Collective groan, I think, probably from the fans, and that 8-point gap suddenly seems enormous, but presumably you can't let that translate to the players.
And it hasn't translated to the players, I'll be honest with you. Like I said, training this morning, I thought they were excellent. I was really, really happy with training this morning. I think there's been a real focus this week, and I was happy last week, don't get me wrong, but I think myself, who's kind of leading the ship at the moment, and the staff, we've got to double down on what we're doing in terms of our process, in terms of our coaching, in terms of our intensity, and the players have got to follow that. And like I said this morning, I came off the training pitch, I was really, really happy with them. I think there was a real focus and a real desire to obviously correct what happened on Saturday.
And I suppose one of the keys is to get more goals perhaps out of your young strikers, and Rooson's been having a go, then Burstow's been having a go. At some point you would just hope that one of those two, perhaps even both, suddenly finds a little bit of form in front of goal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like relying on hope. If I'm being, as a coach, when you sit in my position, hope, you don't like to rely on hope. What we've got to keep doing is just keep working with them. And I think the point that I made after the game, I think is a really important point, that when there's going to be a lot of talk around Jack, but when Jack signed for the football club, 18 months or so ago, Jack wasn't the Jack that you see now, and that's because Jack's listened, Jack's worked really hard. There's been a lot of work that's gone into him behind the scenes. And I know in the short term that's not going to give it's not going to give the fans a huge amount of reassurance. But what we have to do, we have to keep working with the players we've got, and we can't mope, we can't cry around the situation we're in, and we've just got to keep working. And that's my mindset. We'll be on the training pitch every day. We won't be hoping that one of the strikers can find some consistency. We'll just keep working with them. And
Nick made a reference to it. It's, I think, 8 goals in 2, 10 home goals in 3. So obviously Norwich and then Leicester and Southampton, they're all teams that let you play football. So can that be a little bit to your advantage?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. Look, they're all really, really good teams. They all have a really different way of playing, which is going to be a challenge for us because it's such a short turnaround with the games in terms of our preparation. But really confident that we can get the information that we need into the players for those 3 games. They've all got good coaches. They've all got a way of playing. They're all very similar in terms of they want to try and have the ball, but they have the ball in different ways without getting going into too much detail. So, look, we want to get to our long-term aim is obviously get back to the Premier League, and to get there, it's not going to be easy. So we have to face these challenges head on, because, with all due respect, if we run away from these types of challenges, we don't deserve to be in the Premier League. So these are the type of challenges all of us, myself included, we've almost got to run towards those challenges and face those challenges head on. So, as I said, I'm really excited around the 3 games. The result will be whatever the result will be, but what we have to try and do is make sure we prepare properly. We give a really, really good account of ourselves in terms of what is a Sunderland team, and I know I've said that a few times. And we've just got to stick to our processes. We've got to stick to what we do every single day. And if we do that and we do stay focused, the outcome will take care of itself, and hopefully that outcome's a positive one.
And finally from me, does this period as interim coach feel a little bit different from the previous one?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Yeah, look, all three were different, and this is not about Mike Dodds, but all 3 are going to stand me in really, really good stead, because the first time, and I've been over this 1,000 times, but the first time I obviously took the team, I was nowhere near ready, and there was 1,001 things that were kind of going on in my head and in my life. The second time felt a lot smoother, and I think the football club seen a better version of myself. And this hasn't started the way I would like to start it, but I'm not going to be defined by one game. I've proven over the kind of last stint that I will make some really strong decisions, and I'll live and die by those decisions. But yeah, look, there are so many other things that get thrown into the mix, like Nick said, around the travel. You've got to take those things into consideration. We've got 2 mammoth trips in the space of 7 days. Obviously injuries, which, like I've alluded to, you could have the most experienced manager in the world sat here. When you take someone of his quality out your team, it becomes a challenge. Whether it's naivety or whether it's youthfulness, I'm kind of looking at it from a different lens. I'm looking at it like, I'm saying, right, come on then, what have you got? Where are you? How good are you? So I'm putting that pressure on myself. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to the challenge of this next week.